All right. Who do we have on the line?
No,
Ramon?
just yeah, the bookshelf too. Yes. Yeah. I don't. Why would you think it was anybody else, man?
I don't know, man. I just, I had to make sure that, my caller ID was working properly. That's all.
Yeah, there's a lot of identity thieves out there, and I don't know, but it's good that a lot of very famous people are calling your channel. You're getting a lot of attention. I know that I'm at the end of the evening, and I was trying to call earlier, so I'll try to keep it short. There's two topics I wanted to address. I'll try to merge two of them, and then another one. The whole thing with Jerry Jones and Dak Prescott, I think is really, of course I am a huge Cowboys fan, but I kind of stand on Prescott's side because his whole thing is not that he says people shouldn't have to protest, be able to protest during the game. He just says his personal philosophy is that you don't protest during the national anthem. So, instead of, and by the way, he was answering somebody else's question. So I don't know why they were objecting, because they didn't get the answer that they wanted. And there was a Yahoo News story where they were basically mocking him because he said there's many ways for people to engage in changing the world, and he just doesn't think it's right to do it during the anthem. And so Yahoo Sports, in a news article, they labeled it news, not opinion. They put like an article in parentheses that says, well, if he wants examples of it, there's people who do it every week during the season by kneeling. And it's like, if you want to prejudge what the actual correct action is, then don't call it a news article. You have to call it an opinion article.
That's right.
So it's just ridiculous. And Prescott, I think he still has to prove himself to a certain extent on the field, but I think you do have to give him credit for just resisting the need to go along with the crowd. I think Cam Newton has also been bullied in the past about it, and it's really annoying for me to have to agree with Jerry Jones on something, because I think he's really ruined the team a number of times, but I think he is kind of a joke of a person, but he still owns the team. And like at this point, I'll just say this, and I might disagree with some of your viewers, but I don't even care anymore if people protest or not, because it just doesn't matter. Like it's not going to increase, enthusiasm either way for the topic that the quote unquote protest is about. So, in my opinion, they can protest or whatever. People just don't care anymore. You've either made your mind up or you never cared to begin with. So I don't know what you think about that.
No, I mean, I kind of agree with what you're saying about the protests not really moving the needle one way or the other, because at this point it's getting kind of old. It's redundant. It's the same old thing. It's like, why should I even really care?
Yeah, and like if in my I personally, I go to my job, and we have like and this is like I'm getting into the LeBron topic. Like, we have one of the most diverse workforces that I've ever been in. A lot of people from Asia and from, the black community and a number of Hispanic people. And yet, our workplace, because it's not like a real, and I'm not going to tell you what company it is, but it's nobody will ever highlight the good examples of what's going on. These tech companies or this industrial tech, really, that they do involve a lot of different people, because they need kind of the workforce that we need just happens to be, very diverse people with technical training. So they just ignore that and they complain about the workforces that are not they're not diversified. Excuse me. So I was going to talk about LeBron James, because I'm from Ohio, and I actually work like in the Metro Akron area, and I'm from like Cleveland, and I think a lot of people here, like they adore LeBron James, even though he left like before he left for Miami, and then he's gone again now, but they don't care at all about his political leanings. So look, he created this school, and I don't I don't think that it's okay to I don't think it's okay to like bash him all the time, because at least he's always had like a real commitment to the community and neighborhood that he came from in Akron. Even before this, he has like a massive bike giveaway every year. But the fact of the matter is that he does have a tremendous ego, like a lot of these Hollywood people, and he left the state of Ohio again this year. So it used like 2 years ago, he wrote an editorial that appeared in the newspaper here, and I think it might have even appeared nationally, calling for people to vote for Hillary Clinton. And that was the year that he won the NBA championship here, and he was probably the most popular person in Ohio. And she still lost the election here by about, like, I think it was like 9%. It was the worst defeat for any candidate in Ohio since I think 1988.
Wow.
So, it's like, I don't care like whether he calls Donald Trump this or that, because I think empirically you can see his real political influence isn't that great, and people in Ohio are willing to move beyond that. And I think after November, if the GOP can keep their majorities in both houses, a lot of these people will become much less vocal in politics, because they'll see that their effect just isn't as tangible as they thought it would be. So I don't know. I don't really care what LeBron James thinks, and I think basically the NBA has become more of a joke than ever, partially because all the good teams are in one conference. And then the last topic that I want to talk about, I'll try to make it short. This Sarah Jeong issue.
Yeah.
There's a real the biggest double standard here. I don't know if anybody's mentioned it either on your show or elsewhere, but I actually made a video about it yesterday on my channel, Bold Like a Leopard. There are a number of pitchers that keep getting exposed for racial tweets that they made when they were 17 or 18 years old. There was Josh Hader of the Milwaukee Brewers. That was during the All-Star game. I don't know if you saw that. And they just started while he was pitching at the All-Star game, which is the most important game of his year as a relief pitcher. They started basically saying, he has all these racist tweets from 6 or 7 years ago. Well, how old was he? He was like 17 or 18 years old.
Right.
And and some of those tweets were just quoting rap lyrics.
Yeah.
So and they did the same thing to Dante DiVincenzo, who was Villanova, I think it was a point guard for Villanova during the NCAA championship. And this guy is winning the NCAA championship, and they bring up tweets that he had when he was 11 years old. Wow. And yet they hold these guys to a higher standard. Also, Sean Newcomb of the Atlanta Braves, same exact story as Josh Hader. That was just this week. So they do this McCarthyist look at athletes who are not really political at all. They're just relief pitchers and college basketball athletes. They do this sort of this witch hunt after them, and yet they hire a person explicitly knowing that these are her viewpoints, who is supposed to be an opinion maker. That's what an op-ed section is of a newspaper. And then and in the New York Times there was an article by Michael Powell about a week and a half ago, condemning the fans of the Milwaukee Brewers for giving a standing ovation to Josh Hader. They weren't supporting his use of racial language. They were saying, well, you're our all-star and we support you even if the media will hate you. And I'm like a Cubs fan, by the way, so it's not like I like the Brewers or Josh Hader or anything. I'm just saying that a lot of these athletes who don't want to be political, they're being raked through the coals, whether it's Newton or Prescott or Josh Hader or Sean Newcomb. And yet this woman, by virtue of the fact that she's of a different racial group, and Tim Pool talks about it a lot, that there is a lot of racism in Korea because he's half Korean. She just gets this, it's not even a double standard. It's like a lack of any standards whatsoever. It's like a complete two-tiered system of communications justice. So I don't know what you think about that, or if you heard about those baseball tweets, or tweet controversies. But I think that really illustrates just the disparity in freedom of expression here in the country.
Yeah, I did see that. I mean, that was just really silly because, like you said, it was mostly rap lyrics. It wasn't really anything that serious. It was from many years ago. He was 17. Nothing in comparison to what a person like James Gunn put on his Twitter. Not even Sarah Jeong, because Sarah Jeong has some stuff that was like last year condemning the New York Times, but yet the New York Times hired her. So it's like, okay, what are we really doing here? Like, and she did a speech recently that was about the same thing. So these are like recent ideas that are expressly given rather than just some rap lyrics when she was in high school, you know?
Yeah, and I just want to say before I go off the air, you know, like congrats for the 200K subs. You know, it's like your channel and a number of other channels, they kind of inspired me to do video as well as, you know, I was already doing a lot of writing, but I hadn't been doing video until then. So, you know, you guys are still an inspiration. I did send a message to you to ask Brandon Tatum. I don't know if you answered because I got a phone call after that, but I wanted to know if Brandon Tatum could interview somebody that I know. So if you can pass that on to him, I'd appreciate it. And also, the GOP. One last thing, I have to say that they should come out in favor of giving Assange like a fair accounting. You know, there's the whole thing with him getting kicked out of the embassy, and you know, I'm not saying that he should be completely exonerated without a proper investigation, but like he's just been mistreated for, you know, several years now, and you know, we should stand up for him just like we stood up for Tommy Robinson, just for like a fair treatment for journalists and people who are dissenting voices.
Very good points, man. So I'm gonna go ahead and close on now. Thank you for the call as always, man. Definitely appreciate you.
All right, have a good evening, Anthony. Thanks for taking my call.
All right, no problem.
Bye-bye.
All right, thank you to my man Ramon, aka Boat Like a Leopard. I put his link in the chat so you can subscribe to him, but that will be